those other elements of the game. I've told this story a bunch of times now, but it's so significant. It was so significant for me to hear because it was the first time I heard it. It was my first year junior, and I had that talk with my coach. There's 12 games I didn't get a point, and I was a point guy.
Yep.
And he said to me, like, you need to do something else that makes you valuable, or you won't play. You're not going to play if you don't. So in AAA, you can get away with that because there's only 15 skaters. So you're going to play every game.
You're going to play at some point.
Right? You're playing at some point. When you get to the higher levels, you won't.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those other parts of your game developed, and even if you are a point guy, right? You go into the next level on your first junior team or whatever, the likelihood of you being the point guy in your first year is very low.
Now what are you
right?
Gonna do?
Now what are you going to do? And that's what a lot of these guys can run into when they talk about, you know, their confidence isn't up and they're not, because they're away from that role that they're used to being in, where they're purely offensive.
Yeah.
And if they don't put you in that position because they got two 20-year-olds that do that and they don't need you, and you don't get those offensive opportunities, then what do you have? And for a lot of guys, they have nothing. And that's where a lot of guys will start to disappear in junior, right? Because they don't get those opportunities right away, and then they fizzle out because they're not good at doing anything else.
And they don't accept that they need to get better at other things.
So, and that's something I know that you've drilled into Charlie, and that we try to tell a lot of these guys, whether it's, you know, being able to fight or throw a hit or make a good play or block a shot or win face-offs or whatever it is, because you're most likely going to be a third, fourth line guy when you move on to the next level, if you move on to the next level, right? Yeah. And if you don't do something else that's valuable to the team, then you're the first guy that they're going to scratch.
Yeah.
He's offensive. We want him for later, but right now he's not useful to us.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening. That happens to, I know probably you could say the same thing, like endless amounts of guys I can think of through junior that were so good. Yeah. They were so good, but they just fizzled out and got lost in the shuffle because there was no other element to their game except being the goal scorer on their team when they were 15, and they never progressed past that.
And the bottom line is, what are you bringing to the table? So I had a call the other night saying, hey, when the kids get back on the ice, maybe you could set up that this guy plays with your kid and this other guy. And I'm like, like maybe. It's not good. I always said this: a good hockey player doesn't need other people to make him better. You'll find a way to make the game work for you, and that's by doing the little things. And my wrapping this little piece up here is that find that stuff that you are not good at, fix them, get better at it, find out, go talk to a coach, go talk to someone that could actually give you decent advice on a couple things you could work on. And you might be the best guy in Ontario or in Canada, but there's something that you could get better, so work on it. But find something that you hate in the game, or maybe it's the fitness, maybe it's stretching, maybe it's something like that you have to dedicate some time to, and going through it, that you just sit there and go, I don't want to do this, but I know I have to because it'll make me better, and do it consistently, and you'll be surprised what happens to you at the end of it. Yep. It's really, really important because, well, obviously, I don't know if I have to say because, but you need to take things that you don't like and that you're not, because we all like doing the easy stuff, shooting pucks and doing some stick handling drills. It's the stuff like working out is fine, but can you do mobility really well, or stretching or mental training, and spend time doing it so that it's going to hurt and it's going to be not the funnest thing in the world, but it's going to be so beneficial to you.
Yeah, and just before we go on, I want to circle back on what I said earlier. There's so many things, and like, again, this is going to branch on what we're talking about in a minute here, but there's so many things you don't get to control in the game. So if you're leaving any stone unturned that you could have controlled, then you're just worse off. And it's already an uphill battle, like crazy uphill battle, right? So if you could have worked on your quickness a little bit and you didn't, or you could have done something that when you're on the ice playing in the game, something that matters to your game, and you didn't do that, it's not those external things, like it's not who you're going to play with. And one of the things that Charlie did a couple weekends ago, I came in, I watched one of their games, and he messaged me after the game. It's like so mature, hey? Yeah. Messaged me after the game and says, "Hey, like I'm literally just looking for criticism. Like when you watch the game, what did you think?" Like that's what he said. That's what he texted me and asked me. Right?
That's awesome.
15. It's freaking awesome. And I talked to him about what we talked about before, and I just said, I could see like you're getting frustrated out there sometimes because maybe the kids you're playing with aren't really up to the same level that you're at. And the issue is you're going to be in those situations. So you need to develop these weak parts of your game that I pointed out so that you don't have to rely on anyone else, right? And that doesn't mean you take the puck and go do it yourself.
No, it doesn't mean that at all.
It just means maybe that gets you 1 or 2 extra opportunities in the game.
Yeah.
And because you're a kid that has some finish, maybe that's all you need.
Yeah.
Right? Because like when I was a kid, if I had 10 shots, until I got older, when I got older, it was better. But if I had 10 shots, I might score 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Like the way Chooch plays, if he gets 3 shots, he'll score 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you get 1 or 2 extra opportunities, that might be all you need. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so, but for him to come and look for that, and be like, what can I plug in? What am I not seeing? What did you see? Right? And looking for that to round that out. That's what we're talking about with everybody here, is just find those things that you're not doing that could make yourself a more presentable package to whoever comes in and sees you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have a control over only a certain number of things, right? So control them. Like, do the best you can to control those things, you know?
Yeah. And you got time.
Yeah, you got
time to make it better and to hone in on things. And that's why, you know, we're just looking at Zach Hyman for the Leafs. He's just playing so well now. And people are like, he came out of nowhere. Well, not really. He was actually a really good hockey player from the get-go. But he does the little things really, really well. And, well, they're actually not little. He forechecks like crazy, and he just hound dogs pucks all the time, and he makes good plays. So he becomes valuable. He's not, but he's not Mitch Marner.
Right.
And he's not Austin Matthews, but everyone's kind of saying he's kind of the guy that drives the line. So that's pretty good.
Yep.